My name is Jacqueline Montanez, aka Loca D. I was convicted of a double murder in 1992, sentenced to life in prison as a juvenile. I served 31 years in prison at a maximum women's prison in Illinois. This is how crime works. You got domestic violence in there. You got girlfriends beating on girlfriends, stabbing them. I was like, oh, I'm gonna die here. I'm gonna die. My mouth alone is gonna get me killed. A women's max security prison is all women. Everybody serving over 20-something years for crimes, really hard crimes. Murders, drug trafficking, sexual trafficking, all types of stuff like that. 10 to 15% of women in prison are truly in maximum security for serious cases. My stepfather was very abusive. He was training me to be a female hit woman. Everything that he taught me and trained me to do, I used it against him and ended up killing 2 of his gang members. When they gave me life in prison, they took me straight to Dwight Correctional Facility in Illinois. I was 17 years old, the youngest in prison. I remember my first day in prison. I knew nothing to expect from this place. Here I am, a gang leader. I sentenced to life in prison. I just killed 2 people, and I should be tough. Instead, the girl in me came out, the little kid came out, and I was scared to death. I was like, these people out here gonna kill me. Went to see the doctors, and everybody kept looking at me. But before I was being released to go on grounds, a few of the lifers, it was 3 of them. And they brought me a big old bag of clothes and TVs. And I was like, oh no, these people trying to make me their girl. But they explained to me who they were. And they told me that they were lifers, and they gave me a knife. And they told me, prepare yourself. You're gonna see a lot of things, and they're gonna try to try you. So you have to stand your ground. And I'm like, okay. And I remember going to the yard, and I got surrounded by a whole bunch of Latin queens. And I was like, oh, okay, here we go. It was one particular old lady there, and she was standing in front of me, and she was cussing me out. My reaction was to react, but one thing I knew my mother always taught me, respect your elders. And second, she stated that she was the auntie of one of the men that I had killed. So I just lowered my head in respect. You know what I'm saying? Out of respect. And all she kept saying was, you killed my nephew. You're gonna die here. Woo, woo, woo. And then there was a lady next to her who wasn't older, and she called herself, and I was like, oh yeah, we gonna get it. She was actually a Latin queen. Latin kings and Latin queens are the #1 rivals of the Maniac Latin Disciples. And she had killed a maniac before. That's what she was there for. At that moment, that day, I said, okay, Loca D, you have to come out, and you have to take over. There's no more Jacqueline, there's no more Jackie. Loca D had to be the one that's in prison. So I did that. I let Loca D come out, and I became the most fearful person in Dwight. Loca D is my gang name. It's, in English, it's Crazy Disciple. That's what it stands for. I had a reputation to uphold. I was a chief of the Maniacs. I threw up my gang signs, and they started throwing up their gang signs. But when I threw up my gang signs, a lot of the GDs and the Maniacs and all the folks came. And then the officers came like, break it up. And they walked me out the circle. All of a sudden, I see a splash of blood come on me. I'm like, what the? Did I just get stabbed or something? And I looked, and it was a couple on the side slicing each other's face. I was like, oh, I'm gonna die here. I did not want to go through what I went through the first day. I had to show that I was not fearful, and I had to show that I was not to be messed with. I did end up stabbing somebody. I did. And the girl didn't even do nothing to me. When I first moved into the dorm, people were raping somebody in the closet, and I had walked by. And I'm seeing her getting beat, and I was like, oh, okay, this is the time I have to prove myself. Because if not, it's gonna be me in that closet. So I went in my room, put my bags down, pulled out my shank, went down the hallway, and walked into that closet. And I snapped. I got to swinging, let go of that damn girl. What the hell's wrong with y'all? Woo, woo. And I just got to snapping. So I'm end up fighting these people. And that made a name for me. That really did make a name for me. I ended up going to confinement for 6 months. And that, everybody got to knowing who Loca D was. Everybody knew who Loca D was. So I wasn't to be messed with. It was times where I was tough and cute and everything during the day, and then as soon as the night came, I was crying like a baby. And I was crying for my mom, and I was asking God, please send me home, and I'm sorry. I really believe that they would just want to hear me say sorry, and they would let me go home. I've done nothing but max. I've been in maximum women prison. They sent me all the way to Florida. So I went to Lowe Correctional Facility. I went to Homestead. It was dorms. I slept with 87 women in a dorm situation. In Illinois, it's 2-man cells. So it wasn't as much as it is in Florida. Dwight, we have fences. It was an inside fence wired. They did do security lockdowns, but not as much. Decatur was no fence at all. They were able to damn near walk their visitor to the car. But it's ironic because you had more escape attempts in Dwight than you did Decatur. We had an inmate, Cynthia Thornton, came from Decatur to work at Dwight because she used to work inside grounds. Literally escaped from Dwight Correctional Facility. Was gone. We was on lockdown. And I couldn't believe this lady had escaped. I was like, and she wasn't even a lifer. She was going home in less than a month. She did get caught months later. Somebody told her, said she was where she was at, and she was arrested and charged with escape. And then we had another situation where we had a lifer. She went and dyed her clothes, dyed a hat, and made herself look like a visitor and walked out with the visitors. So, I mean, they do have attempts, though. They do have quite a few escape attempts. I think it might have crossed one time when I was in the county hospital. When I was at the county hospital, and the officer had left me standing right there, not shackled, not handcuffed, not nothing. And I was just standing right there, too close to the front door. And it passed my mind. I was like, do you know, I'm right here in Chicago, and I can just so easily go. And I kept thinking that, like, what am I gonna do? What should I do? What should I do? And I didn't do it because I was scared. I was like, they're gonna have me on America's Most Wanted. I'm gonna be everywhere. I was like, nah, let's just let it go. Let it go. It's okay. But a lot of people take the chances and they take it. Officers did bring in stuff. We sold for them. They would bring us drugs or really not contraband. They sold more pills down there. The psychotropic meds or seizure meds in Illinois. But when I was in Florida prison, that's where the real drugs were at. It's ridiculous. The officers were bringing in super drugs. They were bringing cocaine, heroin. They were bringing anything. You were selling drugs down there for the officers. The officers were bringing cigarettes. They were bringing K2. That was prison. Dwight and Logan was nothing compared to Lowe Correctional Facility, main unit. In Florida prison, we can have somebody drop it off in the parking lot, and then one of the workers will go pick it up and bring it in. So it was a lot easier. They do give us state pay, but state pay is like $15 a month. Nothing. $15 won't get you nothing. When it comes down to your personals and food. I had a family. My family stood by me. None of my gay members did. I never received not a dollar from neither one of them. But my mother did. So I was blessed as far as commissary is concerned. But for those who don't have people sending them money, people was robbing people's boxes. You'll go to school and come back and your lockbox is popped and you lost all your food. They even robbed commissary. They was down there rehearsing for a show and popped the commissary door open and robbed the whole commissary. I worked in the kitchen. I was a house girl, where you clean in the house area. The only job that you could really make money on was industry. They were making the men's clothes, they were making the women's clothes. You had to get approved for going there. So a lot of people wouldn't approve. You had to be something to work in there, because not just anybody can work there. Race dynamics in the supermax prisons, well, the max prisons for the women, we do tend to be, the Hispanics and the blacks tend to stick together. The white girls are always the Vicks. They're the ones with the money, they're the ones that you can scare, you know what I'm saying? But don't get it twisted, because I done got whooped by a white girl. How about my girlfriend? It surprised the hell out of me. So I never underestimate none of them. But they do have it to where the white girls are the lowers of the institution. And the Hispanics and the black ones feel like they run that shit. Like if I want to get moved in the same dorm with my girlfriend, I can go to another inmate and pay her. Hey, help me get moved to this dorm. They was calling me. Montanez, back it up, you're moving to woo. I was like, for real? I only had to pay her $50. Like, you got these women, we run that shit.
Is there violence in women's prisons, and why?
There is violence in women's prison. Violence is there. No matter what, they say, oh, prisons, maximum prisons in Illinois don't have violence. Yes, the hell we do. They just don't report it. This was actually maximum prison for women, and it was nothing like what they show on TV. The gangs in women's prison is totally different than the men's prison. The gangbanging stuff is not as tough as the guys have it. I mean, we don't gangbang as much, but they're there. They're there. We had the chief of the GDs there, me, the chief of the Queens. We had a lot of vice lords. We had a lot of gang members. The women's maximum prison is more about relationships. They fight about relationships. Girl on girl, you messing with my girl, that's my woman. Woo. You got domestic violence in there. You got girlfriends beating on girlfriends, cutting them up, slicing their face, stabbing them. I cut a girl up for having sex with my girlfriend. We'll take the mop. You know how you have the mop stick? It has the metal piece. We'll take that metal piece and we'll sharpen it up on the floor, on the cement outside, and that becomes a shank. I've had a toothbrush. You're shaving it up, and that becomes a shank. You take the blade off the razor, you put it on the toothbrush, becomes a shank. It's rough when it comes to that. I could say that my years at Dwight Correctional Center was the hardest, and it became my home. And I got to accept that I was gonna die there. Those were gonna be the same walls I see when I take my last breath. There's a lot of violence there, and it doesn't have to necessarily be gangs. The officers jumping on you, raping you. I had set my room on fire because they had an officer there that was not supposed to work there. He used to call us B words all the time. He said, women are no good, all they're good for is to have sex and suck. He got on there and was like, you're not running nothing. I was like, oh, okay. So I tied my door down and set my room on fire. So they had to come, and I had a socks full of double D batteries. He came in and he swung and hit me dead in my eye. And when he hit me in my eye, I let loose. I got to beating him with this sock full of batteries. Another officer came and grabbed my arm. Officer McLaughlin, he grabbed my arm, and in the process of him grabbing my arm, the sock went back and broke his jaw. But I ended up catching the case. They gave me 7.5 years for that extra, added on to my life sentence. The women ran the prisons in Illinois prison. We ran that. But in Florida prison, I couldn't. I was fearful. I didn't even want to go down there and tell them who I was. I didn't want to tell them what my gang name was. Because when I saw the way that them people were being treated, you end up dead, beat, and all types of stuff. It was tough down there. I went to a low correctional facility, and I was in the main unit. Actually, an inmate was paralyzed from an officer. I've watched one inmate go up to the gate to ask the officer a question, and she got tasered, maced, and slammed on the head. But we have more violence against each other, and that's sick, and that's really sick. The male officers, they try to have sex with all the inmates, they try to have sex with all the staff. They don't care. They think that when we're sentenced to prison, that we become their slaves, that we have to do what they say, regardless. They give us a direct order, and we have to do it. They just think that they're just glorified, but shit can happen to them, too. So it was a mixture. I was actually in the county jail. I got married to an officer. It was a little jailhouse marriage, but I got her name on my back. She got my name on her neck. She bought me a ring, a real ring. And it was like, we had a little ceremony in the library. So, I mean, it had consensual because I was in love with this lady. So you do have consensual relationships. 2008 was a big year for the officers to lose their job. We had a big prostitution ring in Dwight. I was involved with a female officer, and people were getting paid. Them inmates were getting paid food from the kitchen, shrimps. They were having sex for extra food, and some people were having sex for food, for money. And we made the newspaper. A lot of us was in confinement. DOJ came through, and they weren't playing. They did a full investigation, and a lot of officers lost their job because they were forcing inmates to have sex with them. Even if it wasn't a force, it was still against the law. Because even if it was a consensual relationship, it still was against the law because I'm an inmate and I have to be protected by law, and you're an officer and you're supposed to protect me. After the prostitution ring happened in Dwight, they had to start to put video cameras up because they didn't have proof of the first thing, but they knew it was happening. So they had no other choice but to put up cameras. So now we had cameras everywhere in the institution. We were being watched. Officers don't mess with the men prisoners like they do us. It's a totally different thing. Like they can be so aggressive with us versus the men's that's gonna tear their asses up. They can do what they want to do. I just think that the men's prison is more dangerous. Way more dangerous than a women's prison. Like, we got incidents, but they got problems. In men's prison, when they get caught talking to an officer, you snitching, and you gonna get dealt with. You do not survive. The men will take care of the other men, will beat them. Now, if you're being sent to IA, Internal Affairs, and you go there a lot, you're a snitch. As time goes by, inmates hanging with the police officer a lot, doing favors for them and kicking with them. They click like real people. And they're able to go in there and say, move her over here, or move her up. They're able to do that. Well, in women's prison, you have the girlfriend or girlfriend. It is against the rules, though. You're not supposed to be in a relationship. I mean, when it comes out to having sex, sneak, put a curtain over your bed, lock the door, have a lookout. You're not supposed to do it in prison, but we do. If you got caught, you're going to confinement. Confinement is the same thing as solitary. You're going down for a sexual. First sexual carry 15 days in confinement. A month C grade, which is C grade. You can't use the phone, you can't go to commissary. But you could only shop full access is when you're A grade. So, well, definitely, if we get caught doing anything in a relationship-wise, you're going to confinement, and you're getting C grade. Everybody who came through and say, this would be like Jacqueline Montanez, she's the finest Puerto Rican down there. Because I was the youngest, and I was fresh meat. Everybody wanted to have sex with Jacqueline Montanez. And I was the type, that's how I learned. So the nurse pulled me to the side and told me, you're going to catch AIDS. That stopped me. That was it. It was over for me. I was like, oh, my whole days are over. I'm in retirement. So it was hard. It was hard because, like I said, you have your relationships. I had a wife on every door. You're sharing partners a lot. So that's why I thank God that I never caught nothing because I could have. You go through a heartbreak. You really go through a heartbreak. I used to think that my relationships were my sentence for committing a crime. Having life in prison was not a bother for me. I was okay with having life in prison. I was fine. Prison is not an issue. That's a world inside of another world. You still have sex. You still look good. You still wear clothes. You still wear shoes. So there was nothing I was missing out here in the free world. I think my sentence was falling in love so many times and being left in prison or being cheated on or being told you're never going home, so I don't want you. What I want you for? It's family orientated in there. Like we try to find our family since we don't have our family with us. I had a prison mom, I had a prison dad, I had prison kids, aunties, uncles. The boy girl who's being a father or uncle or a brother. A lot of us were lifers. Me personally, I have my mother, love her to death, but she's the one that taught me how to be a woman. Like I said, I got incarcerated at 15. So I didn't know how to be a woman. She taught me the way, like things, what to do and what not to do. But I had so many kids and so many aunties and uncles, and you built it there. You build your family there. And they love you for real, like they really are your family member. To tell you the truth, growing up, I've always wanted to be a police officer. But I ended up being one of the bad guys. My stepfather was very abusive. He was training me to be a female hit woman. His form of training was rape and beatings and all this other stuff. So I was kind of forced to be in a gang. Stepfather was the leader of the Latin Kings. He was a right-hand man of Lord Gino. He was training me to be a female hit woman. He wanted me to be so tough. I didn't have Barbies, I didn't have teddy bears. I had none of that. I had knives and guns, learned how to cook drugs. Everything that he taught me and trained me to do, I used it against him and ended up killing 2 of his gang members. So my life was supposed to be for Latin Queen. I was supposed to be a Latin Queen. But I ended up being a Maniac Latin Disciple because I didn't want to go with my stepfather. My stepfather was a rapist. He raped me, he beat me, took me to gang meetings where they beat me and raped me as well, touched me. So I was being taught to hate, to really hate people, not to show no type of love. So because of that, I joined their oppositional gang, which was the Maniac Latin Disciples. My best friend was murdered. He was murdered in my car. I believe the bullet was intended for me because he was in my car. So I retaliated. I did not kill innocent people. I killed the people that pulled the trigger, and it was involved. So that's what led to my murders. I wish I could switch places with them. At first, I wasn't remorseful. When I got sentenced, I wasn't remorseful, and everybody saw that. During the whole trial, I did not cry, not shed one tear. I tried to fight the judge. I spit on him, told the state's attorney I was going to kill him and his family if I ever get out. I had no type of remorse, none. When I was told that I was going to get life in prison, I broke down like a child and hit the floor. My co-defendant was sentenced to death, Marilyn Malero. They've been home free with wrongful conviction. Their conviction has been overturned. They have been acquitted of the charges because I took the weight. I regret what I did. I do. I took somebody's father, brother, son away. And that's something that I have to live with. I have nightmares. I still picture me shooting them. I still see the blood. This is something I did. So I'm sorry that people don't want me home. I'm sorry that there's a lot of people feel that I should still be in prison now. At first I did too. But now with the achievements that I'm making and the growth that I'm showing, I feel like I deserve a second chance. I can't bring them boys back. I can't. But I have to live with that for the rest of my life. I've been free 4 years now. 4 years I've been free. And I'm telling you, I still feel it today. I've actually spoken to a cousin and a nephew. I was given a chance to apologize to them. The rest of the family does not want to have anything to do with me, and that's understandable. The pregnant women, they get a different color shirt. Like they'll give a pink top to show that they're pregnant. They do get the bottom bunk, extra meals. They're treated fine if you ask me. They still get messed with. But it's just to let people know, yeah, that person is pregnant. And the only time you get pregnant in prison is if you're coming in prison pregnant, so you're the relationship officer or you were raped by an officer. That's the only way you're getting pregnant. They'll get to the doctors and they'll get to have their little things, but they're more taken care of than the regular inmates. I mean, some girls accidentally give birth in prison. Like sometimes your water back break. You never know when it breaks. So some girl had a baby in the toilet. You know what I'm saying? So it happens. But usually, they're supposed to take you out in the ambulance. They'll take you out and take you to the hospital and you give birth to your baby. You stay there for like 2 days with the baby and then you have somebody come pick up the baby. If there's nobody there to pick him up, DCFS will take over. My personal experience was I was never able to even look at mines. So I didn't experience nothing like that. I was in confinement the whole time. Actually in the mental health unit. They put me in the mental health unit where nobody can see me, but mine was really a hush-hush because I didn't want to do what they wanted me to do. They wanted me to have an abortion. You had some inmates too who agreed, oh, well, if you transfer me, I'll have an abortion. A lot of them agreed with that. I wasn't one of them. They wanted to give me psych meds. They wanted to do everything. And when I went on a visit, they wouldn't allow my mom to take a picture. I was just in a cell for 23-1 and gave birth to, and didn't even see him. Didn't even know who he was. And it's crazy because that's one part that of my incarceration that I said I would never talk about. But my son said it was okay for me to talk about. He is in my life now. Mashari is home. He knew of me, he said, when he turned 11, 12. So he looked for me. And he found me when I came home. The White had the most beautiful church you could ever see. Then they got the school building, which is J. Adams Hall. We got nail tech, we got the hair salon. Get your hair perm, you get your hair straightened, get your nails done, get your toes done. I mean, so it's the same thing that goes on out here. You can get done inside. In Illinois, you buy perfume and nail polish right off the commissary. Color pencils, I used to do makeup with my watercolor pencils. You buy the hair products. If you want a perm or whatever, you have to pay for that. And the nail tech is, no, they use you as your student. They use you as a model. But your hair, you do have to pay. It's all inmate-based. They go to school and they get certified, or people come to prison already certified. I went to school. I went to Lakeland College. I did get my GED after my mother passed away. I wasn't supposed to. I wasn't even allowed back into school. I had jumped on a teacher.
What did you do to the teacher initially, if you don't mind?
Oh, Lord. Ms. Reed was very aggressive when it came to the inmates. Oh, you're stupid. Oh, you don't know this right. Ooh. And I was just called too many stupids. And I ended up getting a chair and hitting her across the back. And damn near broke the lady back. So I was banned from school for the rest of my sentence. 16 years later, my mother passed away. And I went back and I said, I wanted to so bad prove to my mom that I can do this. I begged my teacher. I begged her. I said, Ms. Reed, can you please let me come back and get my G? She said, no. She said, I cannot do that. They didn't want you at school. You did what you did to me. Ooh. I was like, please, Ms. Reed, my mama dead. I got to show her I can get it. And I remember her saying, if you graduate, I'm going to be the one to get you a certificate. Now, mind you, I haven't been to school in 16 years. And I was so determined because this is what I wanted from my mom. So I ended up getting my GED. I went to restaurant management, dog grooming, dog training, to computer tech. So it is a lot of vocational, but that was in Dwight. When they shut Dwight down and he went to Logan, the lifers couldn't go to school like that. The lifers were not allowed to go to school. It was only for people who had an out date. And that was the messed up thing about it, because I used to tell them, I was like, I'm gonna go to court and I'm gonna get an out date. So you're not gonna let me finish the rest of my management because I'm a lifer. But lifers get out too. Blessings, laws change every day. And I wasn't allowed to finish my rest of my management. It should be rehabilitation, but it's not. And I always considered Dwight my home. When we was getting locked down and being transferred to Lincoln, I cried like a baby. I cried so hard. I felt like I was being kicked out of my home. And it was a hard pill to swallow. And when you see Law and Order, you're watching other prison movies, please don't expect to think that it's for real. No, it's not. I hate that prison, I wish some of the prisons were like that, because I do have a niece and who's also on probation right now because she got caught with a gun. I wish that she was fearful of prison, but of course she's not, because she's been in prison to see me. So she's seen the hair getting done and the nails, and so she's seen this. When it changed my life is when my mom passed away. I knew that I had messed up and forgot to make it right before my mom died. I wanted to change up. I wanted to bury Loca D. I did. I wanted to become Jacqueline. Graduated from college, and I did all that. For my mom. I decided to give up the game life because it wasn't in me no more. I never thought that I would live to see past 16. I didn't. I had my funeral arrangements ready for age 16. But here I am, about to be 50 years old. I can't be a gang member or glorify what I did in my life, glorify my murders, when I'm trying to help people not make the same mistake. And then Northwestern came into my life. Northwestern Law School, it was Bloom Legal Clinic. It was 2013 when he saw them trying to get me back in court. The law changed, Miller versus Alabama, and was able to change the law saying that juveniles could no longer be sentenced to life in prison as a juvenile. They made it retroactive. So because of that, it gave me a chance to be resentenced. Northwestern called me and told me, like, bro, it's a new case out. It's a new case and it can get you home. I was like, get me home? This is my home. What are you talking about? I kept arguing with them. I argued with them every time. I would tell them, I'm not going nowhere. This is my home. Stop doing it. I went back to county jail on March 3rd, 2015 to be resentenced. And the victim's family got on the stand and said why I shouldn't be resentenced and why I should be sentenced to life in prison again. And I stood there and watched them. And the pain I felt. When it was my turn to speak before I got sentenced, the victim's family all got up and left. So they weren't even there to listen to my statement. And that kind of blew me. I cried like a baby. I apologized for what I did. I agreed with them. And I told them, I'm with you. I'm agreeing I should be sentenced to nothing other than life in prison. I'm agreeing with you. But I went ahead and played out for 63 years. And they ended up telling me that I had to do 7.5 more years or whatever, which it wasn't. It wasn't even that long. Because of the fact that when I was a lifer, I couldn't get good days. I couldn't get no credit for my GED. I couldn't get credit for college classes, none of that. But now that I had 63 years, I was able to get all that credit. So instead of doing 7.5 years, I ended up coming home with 1.5 years early. I was scared that I was gonna get my out took. I was scared that I wasn't gonna wanna leave because all my friends and family were there. So I ended up paying $3,000 to be transferred to Interstate Compact to be transferred to Florida prison.
80% of people at that prison had tested positive for COVID at one time.
They did. Yeah. They did. Florida I saw everybody getting sick. I watched a lot of people die behind that COVID. My bunkie died. They thought she was sleeping, she was dead. Thank God I never caught it. I thank God that me being an Interstate Compact, that the minute it was a breakout, they put me in confinement until I got my shots and was released. But I was never really I didn't have contact to COVID because of that. But as I got released, and I was the only person in the institution that got my shots because my shots came from Illinois. So they turned around and I watched people literally die. Yeah. And I couldn't believe it. I thought the world was coming to an end. I got released in Ocala, Florida, and it was April 1st, 2022. And I remember crying and crying. I just fell on the floor. And I kept saying, why? Why am I here and not them? Why was I released and not nobody else? So it was hard. It was a hard day. It was a happy and a hard day. They took me to a seafood place because I had never ate lobster or crab legs. I was like, I want to do everything I never did in my life. Everything I was told that I couldn't do, I wanted to do. So my first thing was eating seafood. And boy, was I embarrassed. So I remember them bringing these big ass crab legs and lobster. I'm like, what the? And I didn't know that I had to take a shell out. I didn't know what I was doing. Everybody started laughing at me. I was like, what's wrong? They were like, you got the plier things right there because that's what's gonna crack. I said, oh. I didn't know. But it was a bittersweet. When I first came home, I had to. I put bars in my window. I was scared. For the first year of my freedom, I was still adjusting. I didn't want to go outside. I was scared. I didn't even use metal. I was still using plastic forks. I was still adjusting. I was still getting up thinking it was count time. I was still in fear. I had a lot of fear that I was coming to get killed due to my case. I took my niece to the store. She came from Chicago to visit me in Florida. And we was in the store, and I thought nothing of it. And I'm seeing that the machines are empty. So I'm telling my niece, well, go grab that machine right quick so we can go ahead and pay for it. As she was trying to go there, this other lady pushed her daughter there and was like, no, I was in line. I was like, okay, my bad. Okay, fine. I was like, Jenna, go get the other machine. So when she went to get the other machine, she pushed her same daughter to the other machine. I said, now we ain't gonna play these games no more. I was ready to fight. I was waiting for her outside. My niece was like, no, Zizi, don't go back to prison. And it was like, and I had to look at her face and she would start crying. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm not used to this. I was something new. But I felt like she was trying me. And in prison, you don't try nobody. Now you try me now, I got to show who I am. So I had to remember, this is not prison. Because I was ready to whoop that girl butt behind. I waited outside for a while until my niece cried away, like, let's just go home, let's just go home. I spent more time in prison than I did in the free world. So I served 31 years in prison. And it'd be days that I still feel like I should be in prison. What I would tell my young me, don't give up. Second chances are around. I just recently got out and got my own apartment. So I'm still learning and I'm still making mistakes, y'all. I'm human. I'm not no angel, I'm human. And I'm still making mistakes. I gave birth to 2 babies that were dead and I lost my way. So I had to find my way back. And that's why I want people to know that we do change. We do change, we grow up. Yeah, I did commit the murders. I did do what they said I did, but I'm not who they say I am. I mentor the kids, just trying to help them not make the same mistakes that I made. A lot of people in prison, they say they're innocent. Everybody says they didn't do anything. Well, I'm the opposite. I'm guilty. I committed a double murder. I pulled the trigger. I watched these men die. So my goal today is I can't bring them back. May they rest in peace. I can't bring them back. And sometimes I wish I could change places with them because they had family and I didn't. So right now, my goal in life to give back to them and to give back to society for the mistakes that I've made is I try to help these youth not make the same mistakes I made. I'm actually working with the Lighthouse Church, where it's independent living. And they have 3 houses now in Chicago, Illinois, who are accepting anybody. This is like a second chance program. I'm looking at trying to get a building so that I can open up dog grooming and dog training so that the youth can come inside my building. Instead of being out there robbing people, selling drugs, getting in trouble, they can come into my building for free and learn how to groom a dog, learn how to basic training a dog. And dogs are very therapeutic. So that is my goal, to do that. I do have a spot fund me where I'm collecting donations so that I can be able to do that. We're actually fighting now to change some stuff at Lincoln Correctional Center and Logan Correctional Center. Logan Prison is messed up because they keep saying that you want to rehabilitate these inmates, but yet there's no classes to do that. Actually, the women are down there dying. They're getting sick. We're coming home and realize we're fighting cancer. I fought cancer. There's no good health system there, but a lot of things need to change. Rehabilitation is one of them. Reentry is another one. Show these people that what they are capable of coming home to and what to do with it, because nobody taught me how to come home and do anything. So I was left with no family members. and nothing I couldn't get a job. I still can't get a job because they do a background check, or apartments. They do a background check and score and a credit score. I don't know anything about that. But you have to get re-entry. You have to give these people second chances, or they're gonna go back to what they know to survive. So re-entry is the number one thing that I would love to see in these prisons. And it starts in the prison, and then it comes out here. This is my juvenile life without parole. In the back it says clemency for Jacqueline. This is a shirt that so many people wore trying to fight to get me home. They went to front of the parole boards. Northwestern Blue Clinic is amazing. I have met a lot of people inside prisons to come see me just to give me a second chance. So this shirt means a lot because there's still people inside now. There's kids still today being charged as an adult trying to get sentenced to life in prison. That's why I said my program, Future for Tomorrow's Youth, is a big issue because the system is really failing us, y'all. Juvenile life without parole? Can you imagine? Can you imagine your niece, your nephew, your child being at the wrong place at the wrong time? Because you don't even have to pull the trigger. My co-defendant didn't pull the trigger, yes, she was sentenced to the death penalty. My other co-defendant didn't pull the trigger, yes, she was sentenced to 35 years in prison. It has to put a stop to it.
Hi, I'm a producer on How Crime Works. If you like this video, please subscribe and comment below with more topics that you would like us to cover.